Bonjour YouTube, welcome back to our channel. Today we are taking you to Saumur in Pays de la Loire. So, on y va?
Today we are visiting Saumur, a tourist destination, especially among the French, famous for its vineyards, a fabulous medieval chateau fort, and beautiful historic architecture with sparkling white walls and blue roofs, built on the banks of the river Loire.
Recognized as a station of tourism since 2014, Saumur made twice on the UNESCO World Heritage List. So we just found this amazing boulangerie and the patisserie looks so good and the prices comparison to where we live is so cheap, and not only because of the price but also it looks really nice. That's why we got so much dessert, and the person who works there, she gave us the look, but who cares? We will just eat them all.
It's really good. This is less than half the price. Almost half the price of what you get in our region. Insane. Also, one thing we learned today. In our region, normally if you want coffee with milk, they call it café crème. But here, they call it café au lait. And when you tell café au lait, in our region, a lot of times people will just be like, huh? Like you specifically need to say café crème, or they will correct you, café crème. And here it's called café au lait. Something to know.
The city's historic foundations call back to the 10th century in a form of a religious statement. The monks of the Abbey of Saint-Florent looked for a site and protection from the Norman invasions.
Shortly after, Thibaut de Blois had a chateau fortress built to protect the abbey. The choice for the location was based on the limestone availability on Saumur's hillside.
Can I just say this place is so beautiful? It's so beautiful. Sinan is like, He didn't know I was recording. He's still sleeping. He fell asleep on the train. I just love this area so much. This town is so far. It's just so beautiful. And I noticed that the stone that's being used here, it reminds me a lot of Nantes. Because in Nantes you also see this really bright, almost white stone that's used in the buildings. By the way, if you haven't seen our Nantes episode, it's from 2020, so the editing would be a bit funny, but I mean, you can still see the city. I have to show this to you. This is just incredible. So basically everywhere you look is beautiful. Seriously, it's so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. And Sinan is like, oh, I'm so happy to be in a town that's so pretty and calm.
Yeah.
We haven't visited a town this calm in a while. It reminds us of Auxerre a little bit, yeah. But it's not as beige. Auxerre is beige. This is more of like crème, kind of like almost very light crème, like almost milk
Auxerre
color.
was very crowded compared to this city.
We'll see, because it's still early in the morning, so it might get crowded. We're going to the chapel, Royal Chapel. I mean, look at this. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So yeah, so we're just going to go and check out the Royal Chapel. From 17th century, I think. Let's see.
Yeah. And a small history about this chapel. This chapel was built between 1655 until 1695, and as you can see, it was inspired by the Roman churches. Hopefully we will come back once it's renovated. But it's just amazing.
And right behind us is the square of the cat's eye. There is a little history behind it. This quartier was very popular and very well developed because of the chapel behind it. So a lot of pilgrims used to come here and stay here, hence why all these houses nearby the chapel, they were pretty much small hotels. Commerce was developed, and as commerce developed, more and more artisanal places would open and more produce would come by the river. Some of this produce was actually, some of the stuff that arrived were precious and semi-precious stones that would come from all over the world. And one of those stones was cat's eye. And it became very popular, and the local artisans here on this street started to make jewelry out of it until the area industrialized a bit more, and there is a factory that is further down that basically took over the production. But there is a courtyard now called Cat's Eye. Now it's a children's playground. Someone left a very nice note on the wall with the advice on how to do the free yoga class, and it said instructions one by one. You need to bend your legs, lower yourself forward, make sure to keep your back straight, and pick up the shit of your dog. Voila! Now you can be relaxed. It seems that people get annoyed with the dog poop on the street, I guess. So in this quarter, this quartier that we're walking around is called Fenêt, and back in the day when it was just developing, people used to live inside the actual cliffs. Why? Because at the time this area used to be used for carving out the stone. The stone was used for architecture, so there were kind of like cavities in the actual cliffs where people would live inside. So they lived there for a while, and even today you can see some remains of those houses. But then they obviously moved as comfort was more desired by the public. As more houses popped up, people just moved out. But it's so amazing to see the actual, the cavities, the remainders of windows and doors and everything. It's just great. So now we have to go all the way up there to the chateau. I really don't want to because it's a long way. But let's go. Initially, the chateau was in the possession of Duke d'Anjou and then the Plantagenet. It was transformed into a royal fortress at the beginning of the 13th century at the end of King Saint Louis or Louis IX.
It was under Louis I, Duc d'Anjou, brother of the King Charles V, that an important reconstruction of the chateau took place.
A superb 14th century structure was built and dominated the city's paysage.
The miniature, very rich hours of Duke of Berry gives us a precise picture of it.
King René, the last Duke d'Anjou, resided here periodically, and after his death in 1480, the chateau returned to the royal estate.
Until the end of the Ancien regime, the buildings served as the residence of the various governors of the city. The best known of them, Philippe Duplessis Mornay, who was appointed in 1589.
The city had just been granted the Protestant party as a place of security. The new governor had the chateau fortified by the enclosure that still exists, of a very innovative design for his time.
During the 17th and the 18th centuries, the Château of Saumur also served as a prison, and then from the 1780s, prisoners of war, mainly British sailors, their engravings on the walls are still visible in the unfinished hall on the second floor of the chateau.
The building was spared by the revolution and saved from the destruction. It's due to its poor condition that Napoleon I decided to transform the chateau into a state prison. This event is for Anton.
During the period of restoration, around 1814, the chateau became a depot of weapons and ammunition.
By 1862, Château de Saumur was classified as Monument Historique.
The military finally left in 1889, allowing the city to buy the chateau in 1906 and begin its restoration.
In 1912, the partially restored monument opened as a municipal museum to the public.
As collections increased, the city had to continue the restoration works to accommodate them.
More restorations had to be carried out after the bombardments of the chateau in 1940. The south wing and the west tower were restored for their external parts between 1997 and 2001.
In addition, in 2001, part of the northern Trampa collapsed. Its restoration started in 2004 and was completed at the end of 2007.
So it was supposed to rain between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock today, So we went into we went into the chateau at around 1:32. Came out. It was sunny, and now it's raining. So we're just waiting for it to end. We don't know how long that will take us. We still got a few places to see in the town. I love this Saumur. It's so quiet, relaxing, beautiful city, beautiful town. Except the weather is a bit funny, but I think it's gonna pass over soon because I can see some clouds behind me that are like, not clouds, but I can see the sky clear now. Yeah, so we hope that it will end soon. As we descended from the hill of the chateau, we were met with L'Église Saint-Pierre, standing tall in the heart of the historic center. Behind the newly restored classic 17th century facade hides a beautiful building built at the hinge of the Angevin Romanesque and Gothic styles. The furniture inside includes a remarkable series of stools from the 15th century. We then headed out to the old trading district, near the old port, to see the magnificent Église Saint-Nicolas. Its Gothic architecture, inspired by Poitevin models, and its rich furniture make it one of the most original in the city.
Walking around the calm streets of Saumur, it is a little hard to believe that by 18th and 19th centuries, the city participated in the peak of the country's river trade. We stopped for a couple of drinks and tried the local rosé and brut at a bistro at the central Place de la Boulange.
As we headed back to the train station, we came across the neoclassical theatre, Le Dôme, featuring a grandiose colonnade, while the neo-Gothic Mairie, town hall, greets the visitors crossing the river into the historic city. So we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed being here and making it. And if you liked it, let us know in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe if you haven't yet. And until the next one, au revoir.